This meeting is being recorded.
All right. Hello, everyone. Today is March 9th, Wednesday. Today, this is the Kubernetes Data Protection Working Group meeting. Today, we have quite a bit of agenda items. So we will go through, Huang will go through the current status of the CBT work, change block checking work. And then volume snapshot is moving to GA, it has moved to GA, but there are some remaining items needs to be done, including but not limited to remove support of the V1 Beta 1 APIs. Many of you might be well aware of the there's a backward incompatible change between V1 and V1 Beta 1. So this is going to be a relatively long process in terms of retiring V1 Beta 1 APIs. And then moving forward, we also have this Xiang and Hardy has put some cozy updates over there as well. So we'll start with Huang. Huang, feel free to take over.
Do you have a doc that you want to share?
Yeah, I have some doc that I can share. I can.
Yeah, if you can. Yeah, why don't you? I'd like to put a link in the agenda doc. If you can add it there, that'd be great.
Sure. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, I just want to give an update of what we have discussed so far on this CBT feature and some of the work that I've done a little bit independently on this topic so far. So so far we have an agreement on the API, and this is the, if you can see right now, is an API that we have discussed and agreed in maybe a year back. When I do some more research, I also and discuss with some of the engineer, I also adding this a little bit, the two field that I think might be necessary when we go into the design. I will explain a little bit more about that later, but basically in order to access some of the resource, we might have to give it some secret. This is vendor specific, and the vendor might also add additional parameter to guide the parameter to guide the CBT request. So that is something that I just added. I haven't asked the whole team yet, but the rest of the API is what we have agreed like last year. And last year when we bring this to design phase, we bump into a problem that we think that it is better to have like a proxy that directing these requests into a specific the specific provider of the differential snapshot service. So I create some kind of a slide here so that to explain what's going on. Before that, I just can quickly go over like a very brief, like one usage case to make sure everybody on the same page. So this is like a backup workflow with differential snapshot. And this is like a normal, typical using of an application running on a pod using some storage. As you can see, PVC, PV, and it mapping to storage on the back end. In this scenario, we only look at the block volume only, but I think we agree that after we got the block volume going on, we will start adding the file system into the file system into it. And in order to make a backup, typically we start with like a snapshot of the volume, and then depend on the vendor, right? They might mount it, the PVC creating from that snapshot, or some vendor they just back up the snapshot directly. But it is like typical workflow. So without differential snapshot service, then the backup vendor might be forced to back up the entire snapshot. With the differential snapshot service, we can request for the specific block that change or specific file that change depend on the mode. But in this case, we only focus on the block. So the differential snapshot will return like a block, the chain block list. And then the backup mover can simply back up only the block that change. This result into a more efficient backup. So this is like a one example of how this differential snapshot being used. I just want to walk over to make sure everybody in the same page. And this is what I come, yes?
Really quick, so you have to use the volume itself. You couldn't read directly from the snapshot?
Like I said, it's just one scenario. I mean, many vendor might even directly back up from the snapshot. Like I said, it is a vendor specific thing. The one I show you, it's just one way to do that, and it's up to the vendor to backing up it, to back up the snapshot. How they back up the snapshot. In this case, in this scenario is we create a snapshot from it, and then we create a PVC from the snapshot with the source specify the volume snapshot name, and then we mount it on the mover pod and so on and so forth. This is one scenario, right?
Yeah, and so when you say vendor, there's two kind of vendors at play here, right? There's a storage vendor, then the backup vendors.
Backup vendor.
Are you able to get blocks directly through the API? Is it a data path, or is it would you have to actually read from the volume?
So I actually I'm work for Dell as a storage backup vendor, and this is my scenario when we actually mount it on the pod. But I also have another scenario in which we're using VMware, and we actually using via access to VMware API to directly move blocks from the VMware first class disk to backup. Yeah, in both cases.
And so I guess that does that mean that the API itself will support both modes, like reading blocks directly and then just referencing blocks in a volume that you have to restore yourself, or will it take an opinion?
In this API that we propose, we currently only propose for the block mode, and later when this one go through, we will enhance it to support the file system as well.
So Phong, here you are talking about block storage, right? Not the mode of the PV, which can be file or block, right, Phong?
In this picture only, I mean, in this picture, the back end is the block mode. Yes.
The PVCs can be file or block, right?
Yes, the PVC can be file or block.
But this scheme is why we want to be able to like convert a file system PVC to a block PVC so that you can do this kind of stuff, right? So that
if we can access the backend snapshot directly from the mover pod, then we don't have to do that all that conversion.
Oh, right. There's other ways to do it, but one of the ways is to just change it from a file system volume to a block volume, allow it to be accessed raw from a pod, and then to go do this stuff.
Yes, that's one way to do that. And I think Ben, right, you already did an experience on that one, and Thomas Watson in my team also did some experience on that conversion. But that is, I would leave that I would leave that to each vendor, backup vendor, to figure that out.
I will say that I don't like the idea of having this API in the data path for like actually getting the contents of the blocks, because there's so many performance concerns around the data path. It seems better to focus on getting the list of blocks and then leave the retrieval of the contents of those blocks as an exercise.
This API is only focused on the metadata, which is only the chain block list.
Only the control, right? I thought that's what we discussed.
Yeah, so someone had asked, like, can you get the contents of the blocks? And
yeah, I think that's not included in this API.
I would be opposed to that.
Yeah.
That's not
I
included.
believe
in
that's
this list.
also, you have that in that, your doc as well.
Yeah, yeah. We did specify that it's only the metadata of the data of the, is basically just a log, the chain block list without the data.
And there are performance concerns enough with just getting the change block list, because that by itself could be huge for a large volume.
Yep.
To figure out how to efficiently transfer that list.
Yep. So that one of the debate that we have back then is whether to how huge this one is can be affect our design decision. Whether we use as a service, the client can simply read it, or we put it on a CR, put it on an API, Kubernetes API. So that is the decision that we make back then, that because this list can potentially very long. So we do not want to put it on an object, on a CR object on the API server.
I actually thought we didn't make a decision, you know, because both the like all the cloud APIs that have change block tracking, like AWS, they give you a token to go grab the actual individual blocks. Same with VMware. I think if you're going to go implement this for VMware, it'd be pretty tough to have metadata only, given that the APIs themselves are around data. But obviously, you know, Xing, you can correct me on that one.
I thought this one should work. Thought we talked about this one before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, of course, we'll be still discussing. If you find evidence that it does not work, you know, we can still revisit.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm just giving an update of what we have so far, and then we can go back and be discussed. And
have you done any Fang, I would just wonder, have you done any prototyping with this?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did some work here to, you know, try to figure out how to fit these components together, and I look into this CSI drive and how to enhance the CSI drive to support this type of feature. And from what I understand, the CSI driver is plugged in into the Kubernetes framework. And currently it have like a few external things, like external snapshotter or external provisioner. These are the sidecar of the CSI driver pods that running, and it communicate with the CSI framework using gRPC. And I think that we can add our differential snapshotter as like another sidecar into this package, right? The vendor, whoever wants to support this API, they can enhance their CSI driver package. If you look into the like an API, we currently have the CSI driver doc right here, and the vendor can specify their capacity by, you know, adding these this capacity in. And currently you don't have it, but we can add something like different snapshot service, like as one of the capability here. And if the CSI vendor has that capability, then it has to implement this get block and get chain block and get chain block response into their
question. So this will be like an independent another service, not the controller service. Is that
the way I think is that the driver we would have like a proxy pod that is like running in the Kubernetes cluster, and this proxy pod will redirecting or forwarding the request from data mover to the corresponding snapshot, differential snapshotter from any vendor that's supporting this feature. That is like a general workflow that I can come up with.
I have a question on the page that you're showing. Is that so? that's like the new service you're proposing to be added in CSI. Is that right? Or just
I'm
the proposal?
proposing to add this.
this is
capability
basically
here.
not another capability adding on top of a controller service, but you are proposing a new service. I guess that's right. Is
Yes,
that-
yes,
Oh, okay. I just want
yeah,
to
yeah, the new service.
sure. Because the reason is because we don't want to add too much burden on the existing controller service, because this is a separate proxy
is,
pod. So
It can be implemented as a sidecar independently from other sidecar. And if vendor decide that they want to support this API, they can turn on that flag and adding this sidecar in to their driver package.
yeah, that part is fine. I think the reason that you proposed a separate service is because we said we don't want to add this, like otherwise we'll be part of the controller, right? So we don't want to add this as part of the controller.
Yes.
There's some performance concerns if we're doing that way.
What, as a matter of fact, I do not know that that the proxy that you can see the differential snapshot proxy on the picture right now. On that one is I do not know coding. I haven't developed a prototype or anything yet. I just come up with an idea that it would work as like a forwarder. It's just forward the request to the correspondent. I do not know how much performance impact that it has on the system, on the controller, because this proxy pod had to run somewhere, in like a central place. So we said, so any data mover can talk to it to request service. Of course, it had to have some authentication and authorization to do that, but some permission to do that. But it might be a central point of failure here, and we might do something to get around that. But currently, that is like a proxy way, like a proxy to so that it's allowed the data mover don't have to know the exact which CSI driver will serving this service. I'm thinking that this differential snapshot service can simply be like a like a Kubernetes service, right? And then we will spin up a pod that hook to that service and serving like a REST API request on the interface to serve this kind of service here. So that is what I got so far, and I still have so many questions that I need to answer. And of course, this is a community effort. So I hope everyone can jump in, have your opinion, can give me some input on what's going on and what to do. One of the things that I think Xiangqian and have sent me email a few days ago is that right now we in our API we have using base snapshot and snapshot target. These are currently we think of it as a back-end snapshot handler, but should it be the volume snapshot instead? Because if we have the volume snapshot, we can track to the volume snapshot content, and in that volume snapshot content, there will be a snapshot handler in there. And then this kind of questions that
can you show us that API, because you just show where those are.
This one or
the API, no, the API, because you're talking about the
the API. Yes,
yeah. This is basically the CSI interface, right? Okay, get change. Okay, so you have the base target. Right. So at CSI level, this should not be volume snapshot, should be the your underlying snapshot handle. Are you that's the question? Yeah,
that's what we agree, right?
Right, because otherwise it will be like a Kubernetes API object, like a CRD, right? So we're looking at this level.
Yeah, but whether that like I said, we kind of still discussing about and
your question is you don't know which driver this goes to, right? Is that your question?
Yeah. If if we don't have the information about which CSI drivers this volume supposed to go to, we have to dig out somewhere, right? And one of the ways to do that is we have to including that another parameter here somewhere in this request that I'm using this CSI driver, right? Another way is, I think Xiangqian have mentioned that we can, instead of specify the snapshot here, we can specify the volume snapshot, and the volume snapshot itself have a the snapshot class name in it. And
But that's not a CSI interface anymore. I mean, yeah, I think it really depends on like which level you're talking about, right?
This is the CSI level, right? If it's a CSI,
Yeah,
get rid of all the CRDs.
Right. So this level we should not have volume snapshot name. This is the level lower layer.
Yeah. And,
yeah. So the question, we still have that question. So,
yeah. So I do not want to take too much time of the team, but here are the few that kind of the state of what we have right now, and still have many questions left.
So what can you show what was your proposal earlier? I thought you have some.
Oh, my proposal earlier is to enhance this. I would enhance this one right here. I would
add a driver name,
and I would add the driver name in one of the field here. Maybe I put it in like a parameter here, or maybe I add another field called volume snapshot class name.
Yeah, parameter is supposed to be opaque, right? So it should be like a first class field at least.
Yeah, if that is the case, then yeah, I can add another field inside this struct, and that helped me directing this from the proxy, from the differential snapshot proxy. I can help directing that request to that CSI driver that's supporting that volume.
Oh, sorry. You were talking about CSI interface over there. In the other link you were presenting, right? And I'm not sure I understand why we need driver information, because once you reach to a particular CSI driver, it is already that driver.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused there. Could you help clarify that for me?
Yeah, my question. This is the CSI interface, right? You're proposing, right?
Yeah.
If
Yes.
I understand you correctly. And this will be addressed to a particular CSI driver implementation.
Oh, I see what you mean. So this the API that we proposing here, it actually the differential snapshotter will supporting that API. So by the time that the chain get block request get to this API, it already got. So we have to have like another service on top of it. So
but yeah, I guess the question is like how, I think this is not clear, at least if I just look at this diagram, how does that call get passed all the way from, so this is the data mover will be making this call, right?
Yeah, the data
request. Yeah. The data mover, so how does data mover pass in this CSI drive? How does data mover know which driver to be called? I guess that's the question.
Yeah, that's the question I want to I want to figure out.
So the differential snapshot service, this is a central service. You're saying this is like it's running on some controller node.
Yeah, right? And the controller node, right?
And then the proxy pod, where is that running?
The service is just this is like
same
a Kubernetes.
Node?
Yeah.
Same. So it's the controller node.
Well, the service is just I can just say maybe I'm using the wrong word here, but it is like Kubernetes service, and the pod is actually implementing that service, right?
Service, are you saying? I guess we just want to know, like, is this like the snapshot controller type of a service, like running on a controller node? Basically, you want to know, like, well, where does it go? So this is running independently. Basically, it's not really deployed together with the driver, right? So
no, it's not. It's not part of the. It's not part of the CSI
driver deployment, right? So the Xiangqian, so the question is, how do we go from there to this next CSI driver sidecar, because we are saying we don't. Do we have a? I thought we have some Kubernetes CRDs defined, or are we saying we don't want those? I guess that's the part that I'm missing.
I think that's my question as well, is the data mover, when it's asking to do this, is it like talking to the gRPC API itself, or is the data mover talking to Kubernetes and then we're handing back the information?
So the data mover
using
is not
the
deployed-
CSI.
Data mover is not deployed together with the CSI driver, right? So you can't just talk. So like this pieces in the middle, yeah.
I
So then-
agree. I'm just asking. I think that's where I'm getting confused, because this diagram to
Yeah.
me looks like that's what's happening, or maybe I'm misunderstanding. I apologize if I am.
Believe me, I'm also confused.
So I know we
At
had
least-
some question about maybe the confusion comes because there was some discussion about the Kubernetes CRD, and then there are concerns that will
Okay.
add too much load, and then
Yeah.
so that's why he's going this route, trying to figure out
Okay.
how to
Okay.
go
Okay.
without a CRD. But then I don't know
Okay,
how the
okay.
call can get past there. I guess that's we're trying to figure out here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for the background. That I think that does answer a question I had. So thank you.
Yeah, so I think you have I see that in your in the other doc that you have a question saying, do we need a CRD? That's how I would understand the workload better if there is a CRD, because otherwise I don't know how the call gets passed there. Differential snapshot CRD.
Yeah.
Otherwise, how do we get to the sidecar? I guess that's the.
I guess like normally this would be a like virtual API, right? Or in core Kubernetes APIs, this should be a virtual API, right? So we wouldn't save anything, but you would ask for some information, you would get it back from as like a resource. But we don't have the ability to do that today because of CRDs, right? And we're not in the core cube. Is that the right distinction to be made?
Right, but I don't know how do you do virtual call? You go through the API server but not saving
like
it.
Yeah, it's a thing that exists. So like subject
Okay.
access reviews are virtual resources. You don't save a subject access review. It literally is a request that's made to the API server. The API server gives you a response back, but that resource isn't saved in etcd. But you can only do that.
More like a webhook type of thing. Is that what you're sounds like that?
Yes, this is purely in like the API server code base that you can do.
Do you have any
or an
information?
aggregated
I think maybe
or an
that-
aggregated API server can do this.
Okay.
Another option, but I don't think we want to do either of those. And so yeah, I think a webhook is like something, but it still, that means that we're like not saving something in
But
like
we
a
do need to get
CRD.
results.
It's
We do
really
need to get
weird.
results, right? So
Yeah.
The concern is that change block list. That's a very big one. That was.
Yeah, and that could be huge, right? So like you don't want to save that in etcd. And what you would really want is for us to ask in a structured resource way for some information. We would calculate that information and hand it back to the caller. It would still be protected by RBAC. It would have all of the nice things that come with Kubernetes resources, but it wouldn't be saved in etcd, and we wouldn't have any of the size problems or scale problems or anything like that. But I don't know how to do that with CRD, so I don't have good answers. I'm just trying to make an analogy to like what I think exists today for certain resources in the core Kubernetes API server. And
I see.
And if that is something that we could talk to folks about and seeing if there's a way forward using that like analogy of like what we're trying to get. Does that make sense to anybody else besides me? I apologize.
Yeah. Actually, if you have any information on that virtual server thing, that will be helpful. I think.
Yeah.
I think Juan was asking some questions earlier, right? I also don't have the answer.
Yeah, I actually do not know like how to, right? Because the typical way to do anything in the CSI is to create a CR and then controller reacting on it. But this one is we don't want any of that. We just want like a REST API service we want to send information. I mean, get information out of that. That's it. That's all we have.
You need to look at Kubernetes API aggregation. I'm going to put a link in the chat.
I thought that link found, you look at it, isn't it? Like we had that. Did you look at the application?
Yeah. Do we want to do an API, an aggregated API though?
I don't know. That's just
Well, no, not necessarily. But it's how you do this.
Yeah,
You
I
came
agree.
On API extension. This is fairly complex. But the Fang, just to make sure I understand, even though there's a proxy, which is just a service, the interface you expose to whoever calling you does not necessarily need to be the same as the interface between you and the CSI driver, no?
Oh, I see. Oh, I see your point. So it doesn't have to be it as long as it can be translated into that, right?
Right. You can totally define your whatever endpoint, like a REST endpoint or whatever it is, as to include as much information as you need it, and then translate that piece of information into the CSI code. I don't see why it necessarily be the same.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. I did not think about that, but yes. So the get blockchain request coming from the from data mover pod can contain additional information to guide the proxy to forward the request to the CSI corresponding CSI driver, right?
That's right.
That's actually sound good. Yeah.
But how do you make that call? Because you need a sidecar, right? I mean, it's normally the sidecar will be waiting for that request. So, like the side, what is the interface between this your proxy pod and the differential snapshotter? Like right now, what we have is sidecars waiting for a volume snapshot content API object. But what is the interface you are going to have? Because you are not deployed together, you are not going to make a direct gRPC API call. You can't do that because you are here. Your proxy pod is at a central location. You're not deployed together, right? So that part I'm still not getting. Like, what is your API? How do you do that?
I thought the sidecar would implement this gRPC call, and I think it's
Sidecar does not implement. Sidecar will be calling gRPC interface. So like external snapshot of sidecar, what it does is it is waiting. It's waiting for a volume snapshot content API object. It's watching the volume snapshot content API object. When it gets it, it will make a call to the CSI driver using the gRPC interface. So it's the other way around. It's not like
yeah. I understand.
Right, but then how
that mechanism, yeah.
But then your sidecar, how are you sidecar going to like watching for this differential snapshot proxy pod required? I guess that's the get changed blocks requires. How does that call get passed to differential snapshotter? I guess that's the question. What kind of interface is that? Are you waiting? Is there some? I mean, I'm just telling you what the current external snapshot sidecar do, right? Because basically communicates through API server. That's what they do. But here we don't have a CRD. So what is your communication mechanism? It's not clear. Right now it's not defined, I guess.
What do you guys think?
So I think what he's proposed, or at least what I've heard him propose, is that the differential snapshot, that kind of orange looking block, is a REST service over IP. And somehow it registers to a central place, and then the data mover uses the volumes, the volume snapshot class to identify a provisioner, and somehow that's routed through to the appropriate REST service. Is that what you're thinking, Fang?
But the REST service is the central one, right? The REST service is not the. I'm still not quite clear on like how this differential snapshotter getting this request. I'm not clear on how that is happening.
Yeah. So if you imagine that the I'll take a stab at it. I think I understand what Tom was saying. If you imagine that the data mover pod is making a request to the service over REST, right? So we agree with that. And then that service and that proxy has a bunch of other REST services that are registered with it, that the differential snapshotters have registered with that service. And they say, I'm the differential snapshotter location URL for this particular volume class, and then the service then would like proxy the request to that particular differential snapshotter over REST, and that differential snapshotter would then be running with the CSI driver and have access to call the CSI driver over gRPC. Is that what you were trying to say, Tom? Or is that correct, Tom, what you were describing?
Yeah, that's what I was
Okay.
trying to describe. Now we have to see if that's what Fong is
Okay.
trying to describe.
So
Okay.
the differential snapshotter in that sense is a service. It's not like a controller. It's not listening to the CR or anything. It's just a service that so instead of listen to the CR object, it will just listen to the request coming from the proxy, right?
Okay, so it's not a direct call. It's not like, because the line you're having here is the proxy pod is making a get changed blocks request direct call.
My idea was the proxy pod only forward the request. So if it is serving a service, then the differential snapshots, it would be nice if it also a service. So it's just simply forwarding the request from data mover pod to the CSI driver differential snapshotter service.
Well, if we're doing this, then I'm afraid we'll fall into the rabbit hole of debating security. Right, this, if we open a service on the differential snapshooter, it basically effectively still a sidecar. It has a service endpoint connects to it. Now the problem is how do you control who can call that? We don't have that problem for external snapshooter or external provisioner because they act on non-namespaced volume snapshot content or PV resources. Now we need to model that without RBAC. That's gonna be tough.
Okay. That's a good question. Okay. I mean, this is just an update of what we have so far. I don't want to, this is 9:44. So I think unless you guys want to continue talking about this, maybe we can call another meeting to discuss. Like I said, there are so many questions still left, and that this is just something that I think I propose. So hopefully we can continue working on it and coming out with more a better solution or a community solution for this. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks, Huang. We are 17 minutes away, so Xin, you want to jump to? Do we want to talk about next action items on this? I guess.
Yes, let's talk about this one. This is important because I want everybody to be aware.
Should we schedule for another meeting or should we continue talking here?
We can talk about this in next meeting. Probably need to think about this. I'm still thinking we should go back just to use CRD, so it's the same model rather than, because we go this way, we have other set of problems, just as Xiangqian was.
How about this? Can I continue? I'm gonna post on Slack, and can we continue discuss on that Slack and then until and then over the.
I wonder, maybe you should also write down the CRD approach, like pros and cons, that because let's say even if we propose this one in a CAP, you'll get questions. Hey, why don't why didn't you think about the other approach, right? So we want to say, hey, we discussed several, like 3 alternatives. This is the reason why we reject it, right? Maybe some people say, hey, you should go to this rejected approach, it's better. Then we can, you already have that documented, then we can go back there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like, probably will be going in circles. And
Yep. I also need to look at that aggregation layer. I think I did look at it, and I do not know whether I don't remember what was the, the result of that.
Yeah,
All
Juan,
right.
could you do me a favor and add all the links there? in
Okay,
the agenda?
okay.
yeah, your doc, and you have this a couple of docs, looks like a couple of links.
And
Okay, I will
Xing,
do.
one quick question. What in your view, or the group's view, is the upper bound on the limit of the size of the return payload? Maybe we could look at multiple
That's a tricky
calls. or something.
question.
4 megabyte, the resource size limitation.
What is
1
the, how many?
megabyte.
4 megabyte?
You can configure, it's configurable by default is 1 or 4, I forgot it. Somebody remind me.
So maybe you can take a look of the, there was production readiness review template. There was some questions regarding performance. If you just think about, either approach, there are a bunch of questions we need to answer. I think that would also be a good one to take a
Like a
look.
next-
And then,
next
when we evaluate different approaches, we can look at,
Okay, that's like a next action item for me. Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, 1 megabyte by default.
1 megabyte. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, so this is the basically, so volume snapshot.
You want to have this?
Right, yeah, I will start this one. So because we actually talked about this about a year ago, I checked the agenda, and then I found that we actually talked about this one in April last year, right? So this is the kind of from that notes. We talked about phase 1, phase 2. So we are done with phase 1, phase 2. So right now the API is so basically in May 2021, when we do a release of external snapshotter, at that time we added a deprecation notice saying that V1 beta 1 is deprecated, and then we changed the storage version from V1 beta 1 to V1. And so so the question is, in this upcoming 1.24 release, should we remove V1 beta 1? Are folks ready for that? So the reason I was thinking about, one reason is we already talked about this one a year ago. The other reason is because you guys know we are working on this volume mode conversion thing. We're adding a new field in volume snapshot content. So, and then after that, that will be added to the V1 API only, right? So that just to make it looks very different from the V1 beta 1 API now. There's an extra field now. So I think it's a good time to think about the removal. Xiangqian, you want to add more to this?
Yeah, just so the group to be aware. So for any public, any APIs made stable, like we want beta 1 APIs, we need to follow a pretty much standard procedure for retirement. Of course, the more mature the API is, the more procedures we need to take. For V1 beta 1, I think the requirement is to make sure the API is still available in a 1-year time frame. We're approaching to that date because we made an announcement last year in May, right? Xin, right? In May, yes.
Yes, May, yeah.
So we are approaching to them point, and also the longer we keep a non-backable incompatible API in the community, the more maintenance we need to do. So yeah, I fully agree with Xin. This is probably a good time to consider remove support of the V1 beta 1 APIs completely from the community, and just to, because this group here are the ones who are heavily you either using this the feature or dependent on this feature. So we want to make sure your business is not interrupted by this removal. And if there's anything we need to talk about to make the process smoother, we will do it. If there's no like objections from this group, maybe we should take next steps to. Do we need another announcement or something like that in the pre in 1.24 to?
We just need to add this one to the deprecation blog. We can tell the release team because they are writing a deprecation blog.
And what is the timeline?
So we need to tell them by the end of March. I believe March 30th. That's the deadline to getting this included in that blog. But there's also release notes, right? But I think it's good to have they are planning to write that blog before the Windows 24 GA.
Yes,
so put everything that will be deprecated, they want to put a blog ahead of time. So,
yeah, likely we will, by next meeting of this group, we should have an answer, right? Either we move forward, then we will go ahead and reach out to the deprecation team to come up with a blog, or there are other other difficulties we need to address first, then we'll see how it goes. Does that make sense to you? By next meeting, we should be resolving all this and come up with a vision.
yeah, anyone has everyone been using V1 already? That's GA was in 1.20 release, so it's been a year.
Yeah, I personally don't think it's a big issue.
What?
I personally don't think it's gonna be a huge issue. But we'll.
Yeah, I just want to make sure because I remember when in 1.22 there are several even beta when APIs got removed, then caused a huge problem in applications. So we just want to make sure we are not causing that problem here.
So our installer just picks the version based on your Kubernetes version. If the Kubernetes version is high enough, we install the sidecar that uses the 1.0.
Kubernetes, but this CRDs are not deployed together with the Kubernetes, right?
Yeah, right. I'm saying the installer looks at what you have and just installs the appropriate stuff. So anyone who has 1.0.
Yeah, Ben, I hope that's the case. Sometimes people hard coded that. Based on my poor experience.
No. We have auto detection.
Yeah.
Well, that's you, but I think Xiangqian was talking about other people are not.
And that's the whole reason here, right? So I suspect that everybody should have already moved to the latest version, but it's to Xin's point, right? We don't want to cause any interruption in anyone's business here, because given this feature. So if no objections by next working group meeting, I think we will be just move forward and remove that.
Okay, so we can also send an email in our mailing list, so that
that's
in this call. Yeah, because I think most backup vendors are already in this working group, right? So it's probably good enough. Okay. We can also bring this up in tomorrow's 6:30 meeting, just to everybody aware.
We are 7 minutes out, Xin. Sean and Hurley, I'm not sure whether we can cover the COSI update.
You just want a quick update, right? Is that the
yeah? I just wanted a quick update because I saw that there was the COSI meetings and agenda aren't available anymore, and so I was wondering if where I could track that, because I saw that there was like this, and then there's changes being made to the repository as well in regards to that API review. So I was just wondering if there was like a meeting or if it was part of this meeting. And then
COSI has its own weekly meetings on Thursday.
The agenda is no longer available.
The agenda. Okay.
And so I couldn't get access to that. So if that's still the case, then that would be a perfect response. And if
I can give whatever, like I know basically right now we're still waiting for the API review to finish.
Right.
Yeah. So I know Michelle she was actually actively trying to review it because she was having some GitHub issues. It looks like it was having some problem opening up that readme.md file for some reason. Yeah, so definitely API review is, the CAP review is ongoing. Yeah, so that's one thing that is remaining. And then Cozy team have been making some updates already on those repos, right, based on whatever it is already in the CAP. I believe there are only some small things that we need to get resolved. But of course, I don't have a date, right? We have to wait.
Oh
to
yeah,
post that.
absolutely. I guess if we could just double check the links and stuff then
Okay.
that are available on
Are you on
community
the? Do you know
section?
there is a Cozy Slack channel? Are you on that? Oh, you are not. Okay.
Yeah.
There is a there is a channel. Oh, no, here, 6 storage Cozy. Oh, there you joined. Looks like, is that you?
Yeah, that is me. I did join.
Yeah, you can pin Sid. Just ask him about the, just saying. Oh, is this the notes? Is this the one? Is this the one that you're checking?
Maybe that is a different one.
This one looks like it's still there.
Very interesting. Okay, I will go double check.
Maybe you are trying to access the old one. See, this one, this is pretty recent. Well, but this one still does not. Maybe we are not taking notes every time, but this one looks like the most recent one.
Yeah, I'll go find where I found a link that was actually gone, and I'll ask for, or I'll get a PR up.
Yeah. Okay.
This makes sense now that I know that this actually exists. So thank you.
Okay.
This will help. Yep. Thank you so
Ben,
much.
do you know if this is the meeting? This is the most recent one, but I see that the date is relatively recent, but this one does not. Oh, we canceled one meeting last week, right? So maybe this is correct. Yeah, so this one looks like pretty recent.
For Cozy.
Yeah,
we skipped last week.
Normally don't look at the agenda, but this one is in the Cozy Slack channel, right? This is on top.
Yeah,
so
yeah. Thank you for that
one.
link. That's perfect. I'll go get a PR up for the link that I couldn't get access to.
Okay, all right. Right, so that's this one, and then also the content notifier. So Xiangqian, and we still need to go pin the Signode folks. I think there are still those unresolved concerns, review comments from them are Signode, and also there are a few from some API review, right? So I think that's still the status. We need to follow up with them. Those need to take some time to figure out how to talk to them and getting those resolved. Those are not easy. That's why we're stuck. So Xiangqian, do you have any update on this? Have you pinned any of those folks?
No, it's on me.
Okay.
I'll pin them.
Okay, yeah. So this is just we need to follow up. So that's the status. Yeah, so that's the two. Is there anything else? Anything else from you, Sean?
That was it. Thanks for the updates.
All right. Xiangqian, back to you.
Cool. Any open issues? All right. 2 minutes back to your life. Bye.
Thanks
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.